Ever since the dashing young prince married the Queen-to-be, his role was set. Not to lead, but to follow. Not to command, but to obey. A lifetime of 2 steps behind, a job he filled with tireless energy and the capacity for gaffes.
I mean, can you get Radio 3 on?
I think he always kind of strove for kind of humour as a way of kind of being approachable. I think all of his gaffes, as they're called, were his attempts to be approachable. I say to be the accessible face.
But I do remember the one in 2002 in Cairns when they were on the Golden Jubilee tour and he was talking away to an Aboriginal leader, and the chap seemed quite happy and quite relaxed and was smiling, and all of a sudden I was the only reporter there actually in the room, and I saw this guy's face, it just fell, and I thought, he said something there, and I said to him, what did the Prince just say to you? And he said, he's just asked me, do we still throw spears at each other? And of course it made headlines around the world and went down as one of Prince Philip's most famous gaffes.
Prince Philip was born into the Greek royal family, but was forced to flee into exile in France, a period where he barely saw his father. Taken under the wing of Lord Louis Mountbatten, the now British naval officer saw active service during World War II.
He was very strong and fought a good war and was actually mentioned in dispatches twice.
But his life was forever changed when he met a young Elizabeth who clearly fell for the handsome but penniless naval officer.
And they thought he was rough and ready and wasn't necessarily going to be a good husband. So he had to fight through all of that, and that was difficult for him. But eventually he came through, and I think people respected him.
Without his princess, then his queen, we would never have known about Prince Philip. Without her prince supporting her, Her Majesty may well have been a lesser monarch, a reduced Queen of Australia.
If you regard the Queen's reign as a massive success, a lot of that is down to the love and support she got from Prince Philip, and I don't think she could possibly have done the job without him.
With his wife rather busy as head of numerous nations, including our own, Prince Philip assumed a lead role in organising what proved to be a fractious family.
Like all families, we went through the full range of pleasures and tribulations of bringing up children. I'm naturally somewhat biased, but I think our children have done rather well under very different and difficult and demanding circumstances.
I think he suffered the way that you could argue a typical man of his generation, seeing what children go through in kind of, they're all kind of post-war babies, therefore things like divorce weren't kind of everyday occurrences when he was young growing up.
I think the one mistake that Philip did make was to put pressure on Prince Charles to marry Princess Diana. She was too young, that she wasn't ready for it and she wasn't suited. Looking back, obviously we know what happened, the marriage was a disaster, but of course it produced William and Harry, so it wasn't a total disaster.
I think that the main lesson that we've learnt is that tolerance is the one essential ingredient of any happy marriage. It may not be quite so important when things are going well, but it is absolutely vital when things get difficult. And you can take it from me that the Queen has the quality of tolerance and abundance.
When it came to choosing an education for the King-in-Waiting Prince Charles, Philip looked to his old school, Gordonston in Scotland.
And he wanted to toughen Charles up, and unfortunately Charles wasn't in the same mould as his father, and it nearly broke him. He was very, very unhappy there, Charles, and was bullied. And Philip didn't really have much sympathy for that.
One thing father and son could agree on was a passion for alternative energy. For years, Prince Philip drove an electric-powered van, years ahead of his time. Prince Philip shared another love for Australia. He joined the Queen on her many official visits and added a few of his own.
I think Australia, like all the other Commonwealth countries, has lost a great figure. He absolutely adored Australia, there's no doubt about that. He made 16 visits to Australia on his own since he married the Queen, as well as the 16 visits with her.
And inadvertently, the Prince contributed to the downfall of an Australian Prime Minister. Tony Abbott's political fortunes headed south with his unpopular announcement Prince Philip would be honoured with a knighthood.
I'm just really pleased that in his 90s, towards the end of a life of service and duty we in this country are able to properly acknowledge what he's done for us.
I always find the Australian views of kind of the monarchy tends to be relevant to what's happening in Australia at the particular time. I think all I can say is at that particular moment in time, they didn't feel it was appropriate for him. If it had been 10 years later or previously, who knows?
Decade after decade, he was there, by her side, the rock, the companion, the advisor, and always able to raise a royal smile.
Humour was at the heart of their relationship. He was always playing practical jokes and making her laugh, and there were probably periods when she needed that away from the formality.
How will it be with her on her own now?
I think it's going to hit her hard because they had a very close marriage, that very kind of old-fashioned style of marriage where it's very strong, learn to depend on each other for life.
I don't think for one moment she will abdicate, and she's made that clear that she will never abdicate. She will carry on without him. Her sense of duty will make her do that, but obviously it will never be the same without the man beside her, or in most cases a few steps behind her.
A lifetime of service, the Navy in wartime, the Queen for all time. Her success in part his. No more the loyal consort, this extraordinary partnership which shaped a monarchy for decades and influenced its future for generations to come is at an end.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.